thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the My WHIM Life Show. I am super crazy excited to introduce you to my friend and financial advisor, Miss Alexandra Lundgren. Tell us, Alex, a little bit about you.
So I'm a mom and a wife and a friend and a sister and an aunt and a daughter. I think that covers them all, right?
At least the familial stuff.
Right. I am an Idaho native. I grew up in Twin Falls. I've been in the Boise Valley area since '88. I love it here, but I love ocean beaches too. So I think that when I retire, the winters might not be here. So yeah.
Right, I totally get you. I totally get you. I don't
I need
like
the ocean.
to live where the air hurts my face.
Yes, exactly. And I don't ski. I've never been in my whole life, even having grown up here. I've never gone skiing or cross country, downhill, any of that. So winter sports aren't my thing.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to be cold.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, outside of family, tell us a little bit about what you do and what lights you up.
So I am a registered investment advisor, financial advisor, meaning we act only as a fiduciary. We don't sell any products. It's a little bit different, which I actually love because we are legally obligated to do business in the way that I always thought it should be done anyway. And I spent a lot of years kind of bucking the sales system to do it that way. I love it. I love just talking to people and helping them feel more comfortable about things. I love everything from just starting out to getting ready to retire to everything in between. I feel very honored anytime somebody comes to me because this is a big thing. This is a really big deal, and that they would ask for my opinion or advice on it, to me is very complimentary. I love it. And I've done this for 22 years.
Oh my gosh. Seems like a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah. So I better love it. I keep doing it.
Absolutely. So what really drove you in the direction of financial advising?
So I fell into this quite mostly because I went to work for a bank because I didn't want to work nights and weekends anymore. So I had to get out of the retail, the food service industry for that to happen. And then I worked at an institution that paid for me to take all these different courses that were, just related to different types of accounts and ownership and stuff. And so I progressed through that. I found it fascinating. Ended up working at a trust department with like retirement plans and stuff, right next to the investment advisors. And so they let me go play on the machines. And this was like, there was no Yahoo Finance, right? These were special machines to go look up quotes and stuff. Yeah, I know. I can't imagine having started in what we have now, how different it would have been. But it's been fun to watch it evolve. But those guys just took me under their wing. They taught me everything that I asked about. They actually, one of them ran me through the finance course he'd taken in college, like the book and the whole thing. And I just really fell in love with it, probably because I'd never really had that education before. I grew up in a household where there was no extra money. There wasn't even sometimes what was needed. And one of two things typically happens to a person in that situation. They get really, really conservative and tight with their money, or they really go crazy and spend stuff they don't have, right? And I leaned towards the first, which also complemented this avenue. And then I found that I got to work with all these really cool people. I got to meet amazing people and do this really nerdy number thing, right? And so it blended two things I fell in love with.
That's awesome. That's just
Yeah.
incredible. I totally get that falling into a career. I definitely fell into real estate. I never said at any point, my dream is to become a real estate professional.
Right? I don't think we
But
ever grow up saying that.
right, right. But I do love it. There's so many things about helping others achieve their goals, as far as home ownership, and for you, the financial stability, that is just so empowering. I just love
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I love the education I get to do when I can teach somebody um, so that they're comfortable doing it themselves. I mean, that's a huge win for everybody because they save all kinds of fees. That's just money that stays in their account.
Yeah,
Plus, they know something they didn't know, and they're an even better consumer now.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you've been doing it for 22 years. I'm guessing that some of that time was selling product before
Mhm.
you got into the position that you are in now. What were some of those struggles that you went through as you were trying to decide where you fit in this huge financial puzzle?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in the retirement plan world. And part of that was because I got it. I did some training where I understand the ERISA world, and it's not everybody really truly has that. And I've watched that really evolve. I went from getting checks in the mail with a handwritten list of the employee names and how much was for each one to, things being where you go online and look at your account daily anymore. I mean, it's a whole transition. But it let me work with individual people, so it was really fun. And really the only time there was a lot of selling involved was the plan itself to the owners, because I was just there to answer questions for the employees and help them with the plan and answer questions on outside stuff. Initially there was no, we'll sell them life insurance as well or any of that. When I transitioned to the place I was before where I am now, it was more of a true sales role. It was still working with plans, but the goal was to then sell those people additional things, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so my big struggle was sitting in a room at the first of the month with all the different producers there, right? With having to say, this is my goal for what I'm going to sell this month, and I haven't even met with anybody yet,
Yeah.
right? That's a little tough, but and it hit a point where literally they knew and I knew I was making up numbers. I was totally just sitting, going through the motions, and that I was going to, whatever happened. But out of 108 people, I was the sixth top producer for them.
Yeah.
So doing the right thing works.
Yeah.
It works.
It absolutely does. I love the idea of having someone that I can call that definitely has my best interest in mind, because it isn't about selling me another product or putting me into another program that may or may not work for me, but definitely works for their commission.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a different level of appropriateness that we're held to. It's
Yeah.
a best for you, not just suitable for you, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So tell me a little bit, because doing this on a day in, day out basis, and I know that you're a partner in the firm that you're in now, that requires some serious habits and dedication that you have to instill in yourself on a daily basis. Tell me what that looks like for you.
Well, the first thing that I think is imperative is I have to be the best example of what it is that I'm trying to teach people. So I can't extend myself too far in debt. I need to know where my money's going. I need to have it invested appropriately, and not take risks that I shouldn't be taking, or be scared. I need to be my own best customer, really, if that makes sense. So that's first and foremost, but that's lifetime habits as well. Um, the other thing is, honestly, I love what I do so much that I can. I can get wrapped up in it. So I actually have had to impose some things like you can't check your email on the weekend on myself, just to make sure that I keep my family balance appropriate too. And I do have to clarify that I can love what I do and not want to go to work every day. There are still days you don't want to go, but at least when I get here, I love it and I have fun and it's all good. I think the other thing is I have learned that I have to do lists and I have to take notes all the time. We do keep notes as a records for clients and stuff so that if somebody else needs to jump in or we want to look back and refresh our memory, but you don't necessarily type them when you're talking to somebody. So I now have a notebook that goes with me at all times. So I can make notes when we talk as well as to-do items that have come up. And then I have running to-do lists at all times, because otherwise I'm going to forget something and miss it. And people aren't paying me to forget and miss their stuff.
Right, right. And there's no possible way with as many conversations as you have with as many people that you could possibly remember it all. Anyone who thinks that they can is out of their tree. But I definitely have the same notebook. It goes with me everywhere. And I do exactly the same thing. I'm not nearly as good at my running checklist. It's a struggle. Sometimes I have it, and sometimes I get so overwhelmed by all of the things on it. So I'm definitely working on that piece of the pie, and that running checklist being really only the must-do action items and not everything that I think I should do.
I get that.
Yeah, getting that balance in place. So what are some of your both personal and professional non-negotiables that you are dead set on, this has to happen, this is a part of my life no matter what?
So I was thinking about that, and this is going to sound really dorky, but always for me growing up, and I think it's honesty and ethics. You just, personal and professional, I have very little, if any, tolerance for anything besides just shooting straight and being ethical in what you do. So it's the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law, right? Just because you can do something doesn't mean maybe you should, and vice versa. But those two things are huge, and they're huge in the people I associate with, both professionally and personally. I have also learned to 100% trust my gut, because anytime I don't, it's burned me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've had to learn the lesson more than once, but I've learned it, and I now trust my gut. So
absolutely. Yeah, I have ignored mine several times. You know, a couple that still come to mind on a daily basis. I'm sure you have those too, and you're like, oh, if I had just,
yeah, for
you
sure.
want to pick yourself over it. For
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, on the personal side, tell me about your family.
So I am married. We just celebrated 25 years in July. It's pretty awesome. He's super supportive of all my crazy things. He, you know, when I was able to run, he was, you know, drop me off and pick me up and tolerated, you know, when I had a 15-mile training run and came home and was pretty much useless the rest of the day, just let it go.
Yeah.
So, and all kinds of, you know, I get into different hobbies and all kinds of things. And he just is super supportive of letting me be me, right? And we've also learned over the years to, you know, it's not perfect all the time, but we've learned that communication is key. And we have a rule that we each have to take each other 100%. What we say is what we mean. So if we mean something different, we better say something different, or it's on us, right? Yeah. Nobody has to guess what was meant, and you don't assume there's anything meant that wasn't said. Yeah. And that's that was, I mean, huge for a pivotal point to move forward with peace, honestly.
Yeah.
I have two kiddos. My oldest, Alice, is 27, and the youngest, Brent, is 22. I'm fortunate they're both still in the area. My youngest actually still lives with us. He works nights at the warehouse out in Hayden Beverage. Pretty proud of him. He's been out there almost 3 years and loves the people he works with. He says it's not his forever job, but he doesn't know what his forever job is yet, so that's okay.
That's totally
right?
fine.
I'm not sure at 22 I knew. I'm not sure at 30 I knew, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and Alice still lives in the area, and we get to have Sunday dinner together as a family every week, so it's a lot of fun.
I love
I love
that.
seeing them grow into these amazing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm blessed that all mine live here too. So we don't have dinner every Sunday because there's just no way.
Yeah.
But we do get together at least once a month. That's Mom's rule. You have to come home at least once a month so I can see your face and make sure
Yeah.
you're still alive.
Yeah, and Mom likes to send the kid home with extra food that's healthy and
Right.
all of those things. And I'm really honored that as Alice has gotten older, she comes to me with questions. Because I think that's one of the hardest things about parenting adults is knowing when to give your opinion and when not to. And pretty much unless they ask for it, you just don't, right? But
Yes.
it's hard. It's hard.
It is so hard. You're like, you do you, and I'm gonna hold my breath and see what happens.
And I'll just give you a soft place to land when it doesn't work.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's awesome. So how do you stay focused and moving forward when you really don't have any set set guidelines? Like no one's saying you have to be here at this time or get this project done at this time. How do you stay self-motivated?
Well, I think that actually just comes down to because I enjoy it, it happens, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit that I have a tendency to be a procrastinator, so there are things that have to have deadlines to get done.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they're ones I create because
Sure.
I'm like, all right, I have to get this finished because then I have a target. Otherwise, they could sit forever, and that's not okay. Or if they could sit forever and it's okay, then maybe I don't need to do them, right?
Right.
The other thing that actually motivates me is the people I get to meet and work with. They motivate me to do my best, to stay on top of what's going on out there and in the news and how it affects things and how the tax laws are working and might affect them and all of that. That motivates me. And then I'm surrounded by incredible people here in my office. We have an amazing team. And so we bounce ideas off of each other and brainstorm. And that's part of what keeps it fun and exciting too, is learning from each other. So in my personal life, especially if it comes to house cleaning, not so much. It's just not my favorite thing. I've decided that it's worth paying somebody to come every 2 weeks and do the deep stuff so that my weekends that are free and I can spend time with my family, or doing something else that's not work. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you get to a point, obviously not in the beginning of your career, or your life, but you get to a point where you're like, okay, what is my time worth? How can I better spend my time so that I'm the best version of me possible? And cleaning toilets with a pumice stone is not going to make me a better person anymore. I've done it at least 5,000 times. So,
yeah, and I know how. I don't need to be trained. I got it. I know it's important.
Yep. Exactly. So those are all choices that we get to make as we learn how to do better and be better and are more successful in the paths that we've chosen. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I don't either, but sometimes, especially as our kids have gotten older, so they need us less. There's been questions every once in a while, well, like, but you've got the time to do it. Yeah, but I don't want to do it.
Right.
I want to do something else with that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've earned that right.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
as long as I'm not spending money we don't have to have somebody clean it, we're okay.
Right. That's awesome. So for a starting entrepreneur, someone who's really just beginning their journey or considering beginning their journey, what is one key piece of advice you would give them?
You have to take action. And done is better than perfect.
Yes. Yes. I think that is a trap that so many get caught in.
Well, and I am an overanalyzer. And so I tend to get caught in that very easily and have to remind myself of that a lot. But if you're not taking action, you're choosing to stay where you're at, honestly.
Yeah. I agree. Whether you're moving forward or you're at a standstill, both of those things are a decision.
Absolutely.
If you aren't taking action, you have decided to be still.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, tell everyone where the best way or what the best way is to reach you.
So probably just my email is probably best, or I can give the office numbers. So it's 208-888-1244, and it doesn't have to be my work related. If you want to call me here, it's a good way to get me. Or my personal email is just alex.lundgren@gmail.com.
Perfect. That sounds awesome. I know that you and I are definitely cut from the same cloth of travel adventure. So we've traveled together before, and I cannot wait to travel with you again and have some new adventures. I appreciate you. And you've also got the husband who's like, go have a good time. I know you will love it. And I am not interested.
It's like, if you don't make me go because I don't want to, that's better.
Yeah, exactly. So my one last question that I love to ask, because it's so interesting the way different people see this, but how do you give back?
So I've been told this is it, but I guess I always question myself on it because it's not necessarily a structured thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I am happy to meet with anybody and have discussions, give second opinions, educate. There doesn't have to be a fee in it for me. I don't have to make money off of the situation. Because it comes back to the whole thing. I truly believe if you just take care of people, the universe will take care of you. And I love that my business partner, he would phrase it very, very differently, but it's the same belief system. So it's never a problem for that type of a thing to happen here that doesn't generate income, but it's the right thing and it helps people. And then we just, we make sure that we give financially to places we believe from our household. One time somebody said you should give so much it hurts. Now, I don't mean that from a budget standpoint, but when you're like, ooh, that was a hefty check, then it probably was enough.
Yeah. Yep. I absolutely, totally understand exactly where you're coming from on that, for sure.
Yeah.
It has been a pleasure to chat with you today, Alex, and I look forward to meeting up with you for lunch or coffee or travel again really soon.
Me too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to the My WHIM Life Show today. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of the goodness.